Malignum celeriter! Vita stante! Bene!
By the early 12th century, something remarkable was happening in Oxford. There was no grand university building, no official founding ceremony, just scholars gathering. They came to teach theology, law, medicine, and philosophy. Lessons were delivered in rented halls, churches, even private homes. Latin filled the air. Arguments echoed through narrow streets. Knowledge was becoming power, and Oxford was becoming its home. As student numbers grew, chaos followed. Young scholars needed structure, discipline, protection. So permanent colleges were founded. University College, Oxford. Balliol College, Oxford. Merton College, Oxford. For the first time, learning had walls. Stone courtyards replaced temporary lodgings. Libraries guarded precious manuscripts. Oxford was no longer accidental. It was institutional, but growth created friction. Students were privileged. Locals were not. Arguments in taverns turned into riots. Insults became violence. In 1209, 2 scholars were executed by townspeople. Academics fled. Some traveled east and laid the foundations of another institution. University of Cambridge. A rivalry was born, one that would last centuries. Then came silence. In 1349, the plague arrived. Within months, nearly half the population was gone. Lecture halls emptied. Church bells rang endlessly. Books lay untouched. Oxford did not fall, but it was wounded deeply, and recovery would take generations. Just years later, violence returned. A dispute over wine inside a tavern escalated. What began as argument became bloodshed. For 3 days, chaos ruled the streets. 63 scholars were killed. The king sided with the university, and for nearly 500 years, the town performed annual penance for the riot. Oxford endured, but the scars remained. The 16th century tore England apart. King Henry VIII broke from Rome. Oxford, once deeply Catholic, was shaken. Monasteries dissolved. Churches stripped bare. Then, under Mary I of England, 3 Protestant leaders were burned at the stake. Their deaths were meant as warnings. Instead, they became symbols. Faith and knowledge were no longer separate battles. They were intertwined. In 1642, England descended into civil war. King Charles I of England chose Oxford as his capital. Colleges became military headquarters. Libraries stored weapons. Courtyards filled with soldiers. For 4 years, Oxford was the heart of royalist England, until Parliament's forces surrounded it. The king fled, and the city surrendered. Again it survived. After war came rebuilding. In 1664, the magnificent Sheldonian Theatre rose as a symbol of renewal. Designed for ceremonies and scholarship, its painted ceilings celebrated triumph, not destruction. Oxford had endured war. Now it celebrated restoration. The 17th and 18th centuries brought revolution, not of armies, but ideas. Philosopher John Locke studied here. His ideas about liberty and government would influence nations. Astronomer Edmund Halley predicted the return of a comet. Oxford was shaping the modern world, not with swords, but with thought. By the 18th century, the skyline gained a new icon, the magnificent Radcliffe Camera, a circular temple to knowledge. Inside, books lined endless shelves. Outside, students crossed cobbled streets. Oxford's identity was now unmistakable. A city of learning. The 19th century changed everything. Railways arrived. Factories rose. A young mechanic named William Morris began building bicycles, then cars. Oxford was no longer just medieval. It was modern, industrial, alive with machines as well as minds. When World War I began, classrooms emptied. Thousands of students enlisted. Many never returned. Memorial plaques filled college chapels. Oxford mourned, but it carried on. It always did. During World War II, Oxford changed history. Scientists, including Howard Florey, developed the first mass-producible penicillin treatment, a medicine that would save millions. For Massacre, to medicine. Oxford's evolution was complete. In a quiet pub called The Eagle and Child, writers gathered. J.R.R. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis. They discussed myths, faith, and fantasy. From these conversations, modern epic literature was born. Even in peace, Oxford shaped imagination. Today, Oxford educates around 25,000 students across 39 colleges. Its alumni include prime ministers, Nobel Prize winners, scientists, and leaders. During the COVID-19 pandemic, researchers at University of Oxford helped develop a vaccine used worldwide. Yet the city remains complex. Ancient stone meets modern industry. Privilege meets progress. Oxford is not frozen in time. It is evolving, as it always has, from a muddy ford to a force that shaped the world. And its story is far from over.